Hello everyone and welcome back. I wanted to build something with the new update and the new pack, and instead of just doing whatever I wanted, which would have been fun, I decided to try and build a starter home, which is not something I do very often because I hate limiting myself in terms of budget specifically. But you don't know until you try. So I decided to do this as a speed build instead of just sitting down and building it while filming myself, because I made this yesterday and it was 41 degrees Celsius, which was just entirely too hot. Like, there was no way I was going to put makeup on and sit down in front of my computer with lighting and no fan on. I would have just melted into a puddle. So instead, I just sat in front of my computer with the fan on, with the blinds closed, and managed to get through it. And today the weather is so much nicer. It's like 23 degrees, it's breezy, it's raining a little bit. That does mean the lighting is slightly worse, so I probably look very pale, but I'm comfortable. I'm not sweating, which is a first. I've not filmed and not sweated for like weeks now. This starter home was pretty challenging for me. I don't usually limit myself in terms of budget, and I really wanted this to be a starter home that could fit just one sim moving in, so it had to be under 20,000 simoleons, which I did manage in the end. But you'll see me make a lot of changes. So I started off building this shell, which was a really nice shell, 2 stories, lots of bedrooms, but it was entirely too big and too expensive. So you'll see me slowly like delete rooms and then just delete the entire second floor, because I was like, I don't need this. Also, with the exterior, I initially wanted to make it green, but then I looked at the front door from the Growing Together pack, and the door with the green trim has this like dark reddish brown wood, and I wanted to incorporate that with the rest of the exterior, but I was having a really hard time trying to fit in the green, the wood, and then the stone from like the foundation and the pillars. So I ended up giving up. I think the closest that I got was when I added the green roof trim. I think that looked kind of okay, but then I ended up swapping out the front door for the blue one with the white trim and just making the house blue instead. And I was immediately so much happier with it. Like, it looked so much better. But I know it's like another blue house. You know, houses that are blue are just the easiest to make, and like, I was struggling in terms of budget already anyway, so I decided to just give in and just make it blue. But one of the reasons that I struggled was because I didn't want to just use all of the cheapest base game stuff. I did want to use some of the nicer furniture from the new pack. So I used like the double bed from Growing Together and the rug and the couch from Growing Together and like a couple of things like that, just to make it a little bit nicer. I also wanted it to function from like the first day you would move in, so I got like a TV, even if I did end up getting a slightly worse TV at the end to save some money. But I also wanted a computer, so I got a TV and a computer. Neither of them particularly good quality, but they work. And you know, the whole point of a starter home is that you can build on it and make it better as you play in it, which I think is a real possibility for this house. Like, I would eventually like to kind of take it back to that shell that I started with, you know, 2 floors and lots more bedrooms, and then also flesh out the inside and improve the kitchen appliances and the computer and the TV, and you know, just get some more stuff, which I am planning to play in this house. That's like the whole reason I built it. I'm actually planning on starting the 100 baby challenge soon, and I want to start it in this house. So there are a couple of things that I had to make sure that I had, like room for at least like 2 kids and a computer so I could work from home. I also put some planters in the backyard because I know if you plant, you know, specific types of plants, it's a pretty good way to make money. So you will be seeing this house again soon. Just I will be a lot more stressed about it. But hopefully, aside from, you know, trying to have and raise 100 children, I will also be able to turn this house into something a lot nicer. I did like this lot because it's called on Eucalyptus Lane, and as an Australian I'm like, oh, eucalyptus, that's nice. But also because it does come with that big willow tree which I wanted to keep, and there is enough room for a yard, which I think I should be able to fit the treehouse on this lot somewhere eventually. This whole build took me like 2 hours. Like the footage is pretty much exactly 2 hours long. But honestly, that's one of the easier builds that I've done. I of course cut a fair bit out of the speed build that I've made here. Like, you know, trying to find the right wallpaper for the interior and mostly kind of the exterior work. With every build that I do, I go through a phase when I start of like wanting to make it a tiny home because it'd be good for skill building and good for builds. But like it just wasn't meant to be. Like even the small scaled down version of this house that I ended up with was over 100 tiles and would not have been a tiny home. So I really don't know why I bother, honestly. I was like, this is gonna have to have so many rooms, like, and I'm not gonna benefit from having a tiny home because there's gonna be too many Sims living here, and we're all gonna need skill building objects and, you know, so many different beds. It's like, it's just not gonna function as a tiny home. Like, you know, I would have loved to have made a tiny home, but I also needed to think like I'm gonna need like and babies and infants room and like a toddler room and a child room and a teens room, and then once my kids start aging up into young adults, they're also going to need somewhere to sleep that isn't like with their younger siblings. So like this house is probably going to end up being pretty big, but we can always build down, you know. You can have up to like 4 levels of basement, I think, in The Sims. I could be wrong about that, but you can have a few. We could end up just building this absolutely massive like apartment building looking thing. I don't necessarily want it to look like that, but I mean, it's the 100 baby challenge. Anything is possible. I've actually never done the 100 baby challenge. I previously kind of thought about it and I was like, why would I want to do that to myself? And of course, now that infants are a thing, I've looked at it and gone, yeah, actually, I would really like to try that. I don't know why. I don't know why infants changed that for me, but apparently they did. I just think they add a certain level of chaos. And also the milestones are so cute. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna give it a try. Hopefully I can finish it. Maybe. And I mean, I do really want to play in San Sequoia. Like, I think that's a really good place to do anything family kind of based. And I've really not spent all that much time playing with all of the different things you can do with the pack yet. And like, I've not been to the rec center, and like, I've not been to like the splash pad, like park or anything. And I want to do some of those things, if possible, with the challenge, even though I'm pretty sure it's not going to work out. Because, like, all I'm going to be thinking is, like, we need to have more babies. We need to take care of the babies. We need to make money. Like, it's going to be rough. I don't know if we're going to explore, like, at all. I don't know. I'm excited, like I'm very excited, but I'm also a little bit nervous. I did some like interesting things, I think, with the wallpaper inside. I chose some wallpapers that I kind of wouldn't really use otherwise. I'm always tempted to use that like gingham wallpaper for like a kid's room, but I just never do it because I'm like, it's a little bit too much. But I used it for this one in that green shade. And then I also made the bathroom green, but I used the new tiles from Growing Together. And I ended up really liking the like soft kind of pastel shades that I used in the kitchen and dining room and the living room. I don't know, there's something about, I just like pastel shades. I changed those bar stools to white, but I feel like I should maybe change them back to blue because I really did like how they looked when they were blue. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what I was doing when I did like the mom's bedroom. I made it like such a bright color because like it matches the bed, and I'm like, yeah, cool, but I don't know, it kind of sticks out. It's kind of a lot. I will also probably have to move the high chair. I'm not entirely sure if it's gonna work the way it's supposed to, like up against the wall like that, but we're not gonna have an infant for like a bit. It's not a pressing issue yet. So I mean, you can see that I have used a few things from Growing Together, like the side table and the flower centerpiece and the bed, the couch, some of the lights. I didn't want to just, you know, be like, here's a base game house. I did really want to use some of the Growing Together stuff, which is why it's such a small house, because some of the Growing Together stuff is quite expensive. But like, I'm okay with it being a small house at this point. I just think the bit that makes me the most nervous is like the fact that the walls are so blank. I don't like leaving like blank white walls in my builds. I usually like to cover them with artwork or like, you know, some kind of wall decoration, but I just did not have enough money. I forgot to put bins in and then I was like, no, that's gonna cost even more money. But I did manage to get a couple of planters in the back. The lot value I think actually ended up being just over 20,000 simoleons. So I think, I'm not sure, I might need to delete like a couple of things. Maybe one of those planters I'll probably go in and delete because I need it to be under like 20,000 simoleons. The house itself is only like 18,000, but this lot is like 2,500. So I might need to like downgrade the bin and get rid of one of the planters, I think. And then we hopped into my best friend Debug, which I cut a lot of me just scrolling through Debug out, because when I use Debug I have to like go through every single thing and like see what it looks like and figure out if I can use it, and it's just a lot of me just picking things out and then not using them because I decide that I don't like them. I think it looks a little bit overgrown in the back there, but I do like that. Yeah, the house pretty much done. I just have to make a couple of edits to it. Here it is finished. It is worth 19,864 simoleons, apparently. So I changed out the rubbish bin in the back and also removed one of the planters to get it under that 20,000 simoleon kind of limit. But let's have a look inside. So you can see we've got the world around here. We've got some traffic lights on a main street with a nice water view of this kind of dock that isn't really anything, and you know, it's a nice view. It's, you know, it's a little house, but it's a nice view. Here's the front kind of landscaping. You can kind of just see straight into the kids' room, but I couldn't afford curtains, but you know, I'll probably put a curtain there at some point. The front door's actually in here, and you walk into the living room, well, you know, living area with our side little TV there. I do like the rug and the couch combo. I think it looks nice. And as you can see, I changed the bar stools to red because I don't know, I thought it looked nice. It's a simple kitchen, but it's practical. There's quite a lot of counter space. We've got some nice little flowers here. You know, everything you need to cook a meal. I do like the blue and this kind of peach colour. It's quite nice. So over on this side of the house we have this very bright main bedroom with a computer. It's kind of an interesting colour choice, in my opinion, but it works, I think. And then in here on the other side is the kids' bedroom. We've got pretty much everything we need. Books, toys, crib. You can fit another bassinet in here, changing table, all the essentials. And then just next door is the bathroom, which is also very simple, but works exactly how you need it to. Got a tub, got a toilet potty, everything you need. And then here we come outside, down these steps. I've just got the one planter now, and I downgraded the bin, which is kind of sad because it doesn't have a lid. But that's one of the things that we can get when we earn some money. Yeah, I don't think it's actually that bad. Like, it's small, but it's functional, and there is room for improvement. So I think in terms of like starter homes, it's one that I'm happy to play in. It's got toilets, which means, you know, it's better than some EA builds. Okay, so that is all for this build and this video. I will put this build up on the gallery if you'd like it. My gallery information is in the description, as well as links to all of my socials and my Patreon and Ko-Fi if you would like to leave a donation. Thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss anything, especially me starting the 100 baby challenge. And I will see you in another video very soon. Bye everyone!